Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's ASEAN Midday Market Watch. Our guest today is Gabriel Yap, Executive Chairman of GCP Global. Gabriel, good to have you on the show.
As always, Brian, it's my privilege and honor. Thank you.
Now, thanks a lot, Gabriel. Let's take a quick look and see how markets are performing across the region. And we will start off with, perhaps this time closer to home, we've got Bursa Malaysia, which is trading at 1,573.9. It's down 0.43%. We've got the SGX at 2,914.05. That's down 0.21%. Looking across regionally, we have the Nikkei, which is down 1.64% at 27,733.68. In the green is the Shanghai Composite. It's up 0.23% at 3,513.37. The Hang Seng is also up. It's up 0.35% at 28,653.12. Now the ASX 200 is down 0.59% at 6,610.7. The Kospi also down sharply, it's 3,002.09. It's down 0.218%. So Gabriel, pretty mixed bag across the region. What are your thoughts on how markets have performed this morning?
Well, I think markets essentially just reacting to a few instances of trading frenzy that we actually have been seeing emanating from the US market. I guess it actually started with AMC trading and the trading on Gamestop. As you can see, for the longest time, I think a lot of retail investors are cheering the likes of your Reddit as well as your Robinhood traders pertaining to what's happening to GameStop. Essentially, you've been following that closely. You notice that two particular funds like Citron and Melvin Capital have practically lost, quite a lot of money. As a matter of fact, the estimate was that these two funds together, the other funds lost about 3.3 billion US by shorting GameStop and AMC.
Wow.
So right now, with this frenzy buying, understandably, it has added a great sense of instability into the market. But that's what market's all about. It's all about volatility. If you ask me, is it extreme volatility? The answer is yes. But for the longest time, we haven't seen that in the markets. And this is actually filtering through to some of the stocks in the Hong Kong market. For example, in Hong Kong itself, you see E2 technology basically shot up from its IPO price at 24.70 to 56.60 at this juncture. So as you can continue to experience and see how it is, you can see it's a development. All these stocks epitomizes a few things. One, they are in the new tech area. Two, they are basically in the areas of either gaming / AI / technology. So this is a new area, a new particular sector that one has to be watchful of. And this is, of course, these are the sectors that we teach in our investment classes.
But Gabriel, shouldn't we as normal investors be worried about this whole phenomena? After all, it distorts the whole market completely. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is the small investor finally has the power to move markets. So what is your view on that?
Well, for the longest period of time, as a matter of fact, we're talking about decades. It's always been retail investors have always been at the mercy of institutional investors. Since the development of 401k funds, cure funds in the US, you notice that basically the big pension funds as well as the amalgamated funds basically have the power to move stocks. Right now, that has actually shifted since the pandemic. We have seen that actually happening with a couple of stocks so far. You have actually seen, the key thing in understanding this mentality is this. If you are basically outside to the world and you do not actually take a look, the best advice, for example, is in this book called To Kill a Mockingbird. And in that book, the best advice given was to understand somebody else. You have to understand the profile of the investors that are trading there. You have to step inside their shoes. You notice that essentially these retail investors driving Robinhood or Reddit are actually psychologically attuned to understanding the risks that they're involved. They do understand the risks. So do not need to tell them, things that they already know. But they are there to make a quick buck, but And when it's actually done in drove and in huge volumes, it's going to drive volatility. So they already knew the risk, you see. So this is no dissimilar to trading in cryptocurrencies, for example.
And also one of the things with these sort of stocks, GameStop, AMC and stuff, the float is actually very small. So actually try the ability of the small investors to move prices and therefore move markets is that much more. I mean, it would be much harder to do that with an Amazon or Google or something like that.
Certainly so, yes. So if anything, this again exemplify the point that I've been driving, that is the world has changed. The new millennial traders, the Generation Z traders, it's taken basically the funds, and hammering them on the heads, literally, because they are actually picking those stocks, where the funds actually shorted, and those funds that have shorted the stocks already knew and should actually know these are small cap stocks. So if you are actually shorting, in a big way, you stand to lose your pants practically. And essentially, Melvin Capital, the CEO, has already mentioned that when they close off their position, they lost 100%, Brian. So if anything, it again exemplifies what we have been teaching all these years. That is actually retail investors now are much sharper, quicker, and are in a position to make money. So obviously, when they are actually looking to short cover, those stocks that have been heavily shorted, like your AMC, like your GameStop, they're not going to pick an Amazon to do that. They actually target those where the funds are actually heavily short. So so is that smartness or not?
Yeah, I would think so. So Gabriel, given this scenario, Monday is a start of a new month. What are you doing with your investments?
Oh, I'm very excited for February, other than the coming year of the year of the ox, for which basically I think the year of the ox will probably stamp down, the year of the rat, which basically was the COVID-19 year. Coming next week, one excitement that I'm watching very closely is on Friday. Friday actually marks the listing of Kuaishou, in Hong Kong. See, so the IPO price is between 105 to 115 Hong Kong dollars. I expect it to open up and do well. I certainly hope, of course, and fingers crossed that last minute, no regulators will slam down on Kuaishou IPO because of the huge subscription that's actually going on. The individual opening subscription book actually closes today in Hong Kong. Next week, we are preparing for the listing, so I'm actually looking forward very much to it. So this week we actually had E2 Tech, which did fabulously well for my portfolio. So I'm really happy and looking forward to next month.
Now, Gabriel, thanks for coming on the show. We've been speaking to Gabriel Yap, Executive Chairman of CGP Global, on BizTech's ASEAN Midday Market Watch. I'm Brian Fernandez. Check out www.biztech.asia for business and technology conversations.